Storm carries on up high. Clouds roll by.
A PC game Lawbreakers, made by the development team that Cliff Bleszinski put together, recently announced, basically a couple days ago, that this game was also going to the PS4, and it caused, I guess you could say, quite a stir.
I want to make another $1 billion IP. I want to make another $1 billion IP. I want to make another $1 billion IP.
Is this why this reinvention of Cliff as Gears comes to a close? Is this why you walked away? Because
I walked away because I got paid.
You retired.
Yeah.
So you must have had options or some sort of vesting thing.
No, it's simple. This big Chinese company comes along, and they, I had a chunk of ownership in Epic. They buy out 40% of it without any, strings attached. And Epic at the time, and I say this very carefully because they've really kind of changed into their own entity. With Paragon looks cool, Fortnite looks cool, like their engines look great. We're using it ourselves. It's great. But at the time, there was this whole Gears was kind of a fluke, and I could pitch any idea to the company, and inevitably I'd have somebody in my office going, "I'll buy it."
PS4,
Yep.
PC, but no Xbox, right?
Yeah, and those Xbox fanboys are pretty salty.
Yeah, I mean, they supported you for a long time.
You had the Xbox extremists getting completely pissed off because of third-party marketing deals, and this is another game that's not coming to the Xbox. And then, of course, the ponies were eating their weight in hay, and they were deciding to party like a Clydesdale and go all crazy, trying to laugh at, the Xbox fans out there for a game that isn't coming on the system.
You also recently announced that the game's coming to PlayStation 4.
Because I hate Xbox. Xbox fanboys get really salty.
Yeah,
Really.
you're telling us.
Fanboys in general, I would say.
I don't know. It was one of those things. Maybe it's because I haven't, worked on a PlayStation game in a while. But they seem to be fine. I don't know if it's Xbox in particular, but because PlayStation has such a lead this generation, and I think Microsoft will catch up. I mean, I caught up with Phil Spencer last night. We talked and hey, let's talk. Who knows? But it's this was not a situation of I don't like Xbox because some of the fans feel betrayed that Xbox built you who you are. And I'm
Right. Yeah.
Look, I get you have feelings. That's cool, but this is a fucking business.
Yeah.
And I have 65 people, many with families, who need to feed those families and keep the lights on. And when we look at hedging our bets and the install base right now, it made sense to do PC and PlayStation first, pull a little Rocket League action there maybe, and kind of coast off the, both of them being in the zeitgeist of the sim ship date. And we're not ruling out Xbox. Maybe once the team takes a vacation, catches some air, and the game's hopefully a living product with new roles and new modes and new maps, we do some awesome version for Scorpio or Xbox X, whatever the hell they called it.
We were being compared to other games in the genre as our competitors, and alongside those, we felt like we didn't belong there with some of those comparisons.
Install that Chrome thing that removes YouTube comments for you.
Like Overwatch but better.
Similar to Overwatch.
Overwatch with your more twitchy gameplay.
You got a lot of comparisons to Overwatch.
So this isn't Overwatch.
It's Overwatch plus Unreal.
Basically Overwatch with an anti-gravity field mechanic.
Overwatch actually played a role in Lawbreakers' demise.
It's familiar to Overwatch.
Overwatch-oriented hero shooter.
Everyone is just playing Overwatch.
How are you kind of communicating to your community that your game is different than something like Overwatch or Team Fortress? How can you convince a group of people not to just immediately group it and say, this one is by a different company, I want to pick that one over yours, and I can give yours a chance?
I think the marketing is going to be a big part of it.
You're just an Overwatch ripoff, and it's well, we were working on everything we knew for this game before we even saw Overwatch. When the Overwatch announcement trailer hit, and Matt Fishman looked at the trailer and he goes, oh, fuck.
Everybody always asks, is this game going to be an esport? Are you going to be an esport? I tweeted, E3 hadn't even started yet, and I wanted to stab somebody who says that word.
And his decision to make his face an inseparable image from his product as if he was Sid Meier has had a negative impact on the game's perception within the gaming community.
Lawbreakers, the upcoming game from Gears of War designer Cliff Bleszinski's new studio, is no longer free to play. During a presentation called Surrounded by 800-Pound Gorillas at GDC this week, Bleszinski explained that the business model simply wasn't the right fit for the game.
It's $29.99, none of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit.
None of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit. None of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit. None of that $60 multiplayer only bullshit.
It seems that Lawbreakers can't keep people's interest. Its biggest concurrent user base was 3,000 people playing simultaneously. That's nothing. But it gets even worse from there. Basically, from its launch, Lawbreakers has been a ghost town with very few people playing it. As a matter of fact, they had a free-to-play weekend to try to boost people's interest in the game, and they only got 1,000 concurrent users at once, even with the free-to-play weekend. Lawbreakers then yesterday dipped down to only 100 concurrent users playing the game, but then it got even worse. There was one time yesterday that there were only 10 people playing Lawbreakers around the world. 10. You could count that many people on your hands because you have 5 fingers. I actually had to second guess that. That's pretty sad.
People on my stream are consistently asking me why I have stopped playing this game, and it's not really like an upsetting thing, but it's just something that I feel that if I could link them a video that goes through everything in much more detail than what I could halfway absentmindedly answer on stream, then that's probably a better way of going about it. So why don't I stream this game anymore? Well, the big thing that is obviously on everyone's minds is player count. Guys, I just can't give Lawbreakers any more time and effort. I don't feel that it's worth it for the developers. I don't think that it's worth it for me. I think that it would behoove all of us if we all just moved on. So this feels like a really awkward breakup all of a sudden. I don't know why. I honestly think that at this point there's no real point in trying to save Lawbreakers or in trying to support it or trying to do anything like that, because the gaming community has decided Lawbreakers is a dud. They decided that they don't like Cliffy B, and anything that has his name on it they don't like and don't want to support. So in the long run, why should Boss Key continue to develop this game? Why should they spend time and effort on it? It's probably a negative defeatist attitude to have, but I just don't see the value. I don't see what they could possibly do to suddenly make Lawbreakers succeed. I don't think that it's ever going to happen. So if I was the king of Boss Key, I'd be developing a new game. I'd be starting over and just kind of leaving Lawbreakers and say, okay, we tried, we had fun. There was a handful of people that really liked it, but a lot of people didn't.
The Battle Royale game Radical Heights was a bit of a surprise when it sprung out of nowhere a few weeks ago. Turns out that Cliffy B's Boss Key Productions, after the disappointment of Lawbreakers, had been quietly beavering away on a completely different game. And that bold gambit seemed to pay off, with lots of players jumping into the game. The only problem was, they all jumped out again pretty quickly.
Radical Heights enjoyed a pretty strong debut a couple of weeks ago. Boss Key's colourful Battle Royale game was rough around the edges, having been just 5 months in development, but it still managed to top the studio's previous effort, Lawbreakers, in terms of players.
From what I understand, the game has been in development since November of last year, and I think the studio knew early on that Lawbreakers might not have been able to pay the bills, so to speak. In that time, they've seen other games like PUBG, and more specifically Fortnite, flourish. And I think that they've made the choice here to jump onto the Battle Royale bandwagon while it's hot and make a free-to-play game in the form of Radical Heights.
Is this going to be fun? Probably not for the reasons you're anticipating when you think fun. I think this is going to be fun because, well, it's unfair to already, but I think it's going to be a train wreck. Just going to put that out there. From what I've seen from reviews and from its sudden announcement, and that something tells me something's going on here.
Never again, Ronnie. Bad Ronnie.
We're off to a great start. Wow, the jumping is really something.
So tell me, friends, have you ever went and experienced something so horrible, so awful, that you just felt the immediate need to tell all your friends and everyone you know in hopes that they won't be forced into the same experience as you just had, and thus you have made the world a better place by arming them with knowledge? Well, that's exactly how I feel about Radical Heights. To my immediate perception at least, this game came from seemingly nowhere and is oddly reminiscent of that time a few years ago when everyone and their cousin was making a MOBA game to try and cash in on games like Dota and League. Except now it's 2018 and they're trying to cash in on PUBG and Fortnite.
As of May 14th, 2018, Cliff Bleszinski's independent development studio, Boss Key Productions, has officially shut down.
I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. So it turns out that Boss Key Productions, the company behind the spectacular flop that was Lawbreakers, and now the spectacular flop that is Radical Heights, is closing down.
Today I have some terrible news to give to you guys, and that is a closure of another studio. That's right, Cliff Bleszinski has shut down Boss Key Productions.
Boss Key Productions, the studio that was co-founded by Cliff Bleszinski, who garnered fame over at Epic Games, is shutting down.
Cliffy B's new studio, Boss Key Productions, who put their first game, Lawbreakers, out less than a year ago, is effectively closed.
Pour one out for Cliff Bleszinski's studio, you guys. Boss Key Productions. Today it bit the dust.